Good evening, everybody. Welcome to part two of our doubleheader tonight. Great show with Inside the Pigskin, and now we're going to wrap it up with some baseball talk. With that said, I want to welcome my crew. Well, George Eichhorn, welcome back for round two for us.
Good to be here.
And my incredible baseball expert, Jordan Long. Glad to have you back on, Jordan.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
It's my pleasure. I'll enjoy the baseball insight you definitely provide. All right. Lots of topics to get to. We're going to get right to them one at a time. Okay, before I do that, just so you know, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. You can reach out in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Want to advertise cost efficiently? Call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Also, website www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter @TribuneSouth, and Candy Eberling is behind the scenes. Let's get to it. Got 6 strong topics, and George and Jordan will have the opportunity, if they so want to have a parting shot. I don't need any. I think we're pretty strong where we're at, but never will come up in my mind anyways. All right. First of all, several fans ran onto the field and made contact with Atlanta Braves star Ronald Acuna Jr. during Monday night's game at Coors Field versus the Rockies. 2 fans were seeking selfies. Acuna was knocked down to the ground before fans rushed him. Acuna ended up stealing his 60th base, and he's the first player since 2017 to reach that mark. All right, well, George, you know what?
That's a tough one, Scott, that you laid with, but it's just terrible. When I heard about it, I just was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it. I mean, these kids, these fans, they have to learn to stop this kind of nonsense. You always wonder about player safety out there. It could be anybody on the field. It could be one of the umpires. It could be one of the players or one of the guys that are on the bench. I mean, but all I'm saying is that these guys have to stop. You got to throw them into the clink and even ban them from the future games at that stadium. This kind of stuff cannot be tolerated, and baseball's got to get tough with this, because I know years ago there was a lot more than there is now, but still, when it happens, it scares the bejeebers out of you. You think you're going to get one of your players attacked. And man, oh man, no, that's not something I want to see.
Jordan, you know that market all too well.
I do, and I originally wasn't watching the game because it was a kill. I think the Braves won 14-4. But what in the world were these guys doing on the field? When I first saw the video, I'm like, what are they doing? And they came, the only way you can get on the field in baseball now is just going through the outfield. That's where no netting is. And when these guys came down, just like, why are they on the field? Because, like George said, you don't know what they're going to do. And a lot of people are blaming the security. A lot of people that I saw on Twitter and Facebook, it's like, you can't blame the security. They're the ones that were there pretty much in time to stop these guys from doing who knows what. You can't be on the field. Bottom line for, spectators, it's dangerous. The only way you can get a selfie is if you're going to go get an autograph, like, when they have these autograph sections. Don't do it in the game. I agree with George. They need to be in the clinker. They need to have, a ban at definitely at Coors Field and maybe some other ballparks, because if they're going to do it here, they may do it at another game that the Atlanta Braves are playing in.
Yeah, no question. But I just hate the whole sound of this. I remember many years ago when Monica Seles, in tennis, had that unfortunate incident many years ago where she got stabbed by a fan. And I've just, every time I hear these things, it just make me nauseate. They just do. So, I don't know what you can do to enhance it. And the worst part about social media, if they start seeing it once every fan base. So I don't like the looks of this in any way, shape, or form. It just stinks. And, I know there's a lot of good fans out there, but fans like these give fans a bad reputation altogether. It's just it really, really is.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, let's talk about something a little bit more present, that we can feel pretty good about if you're in markets like these. The teams that are hot in the past 10 games include the Milwaukee Brewers. How about that 9-1 Seattle Mariners 9-1, Baltimore 8-2, and Tampa Bay Rays 8-2. All right, George. Are any of these going to be serious contenders once we get the postseason?
I was there when you married the lovely Candy at Milwaukee's ballpark, and oh, what a great place and what a great town. We talked a little bit about it, I know, a couple of weeks ago, how they support the Brewers, and obviously, they're really playing well. And like you said, their streak in Seattle, oh my gosh, they're playing well too. Baltimore, they had that big lead, then they slowed down a little bit, but now they seem to be going on all cylinders right now. I was very disappointed, though. One of the crowds the other day at Baltimore was pathetic. It was under 15,000. And I was just really caught off guard by that. I don't know if it was a bad weather day maybe in Baltimore. I don't know what the conditions were, but come on, folks. You're supporting that team. My God, they're in first place. And, you should be packing that place, Camden Yards. Beautiful stadium. And again, maybe it was just a quirk that one day was not a good attended game. But no, I think they are hot. Oh, well, we know they're all hot, those three teams. It'll be interesting to see because we're going to have a lot of excitement down the stretch, I think.
Gordon?
One of the teams that surprised me is really Seattle. If you look at where they were a couple of months ago, they were way behind Houston, and now they're leading the American League West Division. It's just amazing what they've done. Tampa Bay, they're playing great baseball, but they have to keep up with the Baltimore Orioles. With the Brewers, they're still hot. And the thing is they're trying to keep away the Cubs, who they're playing a series right now. A lot of these teams, it's not how you play now. Yes, you want to get the lead, but the question is, can they do anything in October? That's the real key. And I think all of these could be legitimate postseason contenders, but we don't know what's going to happen in the wild card, because a lot of times when you're a wild card team, those teams end up playing hot baseball in September going into October, and they can knock one of these teams out.
Excellent points. I'll add one thing to it, okay? Can you imagine if we saw the Milwaukee Brewers take on the Seattle Mariners in the World Series? That would be called a drought series. And let me even connect a little history. Once upon a time, okay, the Milwaukee Brewers, okay, became the home of the former Seattle Pilots. So you see a little Seattle sports town connected, the Pilots and the Mariners. Yep. Well, a little bit of history. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it would be a very intriguing matchup for sure. So
yeah.
As for Baltimore and Tampa, well, the only thing I'll say about them is they play in a very tough division. So we'll see how that plays out. All right. One guy that doesn't mind having a meltdown is a guy who has two M's. Manny Machado, recent meltdown on a cooler versus the Milwaukee Brewers. San Diego 62 up, 70 down in fourth place in the NL West. Well, George, what do you think of Manny taking his frustrations out on a cooler?
Childish. I'm sorry. It's childish to me. I know that you've had a tough season. Your team's had a tough season, but boy, oh boy, that was, oh my God. He kept going and swinging the bat and trying to break things. And I love the way his players just, they don't even want to look at him. They were all focused on what was going on the diamond. Not a single one of them turned around and saw what the hell he was doing behind them. But he was really acting vicious. I know there's anger. I know there's frustration and all that, but you're still a role model. You're still a role model for young little leaguers and youngsters playing baseball and kids in college trying to make it. You're a role model, Machado, and you don't really have to resort to that kind of violent reaction. But I know they've been a huge disappointment. We all know, they bought all that talent, and then obviously they've not performed well. So, but I'm not going to condone that kind of action by Manny. No.
I also agree with George. That is childish. You are a role model. It's going to show kids that it's okay to take your frustrations out on a cooler. I understand they are not where they wanted to be. They wanted to be, in the contention for the National League West title, but you're not there. Yes, you spent all this money and you're not there this year. But the point is why are you taking your frustrations out on a cooler? Do that on the ball field to a ball, not to a cooler. Get your head right. If you're going to do it, at least smack a home run. Don't do it on a cooler. It is childish.
Yeah, it probably is childish, but But let's not forget the Padres were expected to do a lot, and they spent a lot of money too. So, I totally agree with both of you. I really, really do. But let's face the reality. I think the Padres are looking to be at the top of the NL West standings, not in fourth place. So, all right, Ralph Williams, hello. Looking forward to seeing you Thursday night. So, yeah, no, Manny, you could have done a little bit better, but I have a little bit of tolerance for it. But you might want to put bat on the ball, and that would be an easier way to demonstrate your frustrations. And if you put bat on ball and it by chance leaves ballpark, fan gets ball. Beautiful thing. Okay. All right. Fourth topic of the night, Jose Altuve caps cycle with a 2-run homer over the Green Monster in the 8th inning at Monday night's 13-5 win over Boston. That's the Astros winning 13-5 over the Boston Red Sox. Altuve became the 9th player in Astros history to hit for the cycle, first to do it since Brandon Barnes against the Seattle Mariners, July 19th, 2013. Jose Altuve, George Eichhorn.
He's always been one of my favorites. I've loved him. I love his enthusiasm for the game. He's an exciting player. He's a clubhouse leader. I had the privilege of seeing Houston in town, on Friday night when they played in Detroit. And boy, the Tigers shut them down big time. The pitching staff of the Tigers in that game, of course, was won in the 9th inning by Detroit 4-1. And Altuve did not have what you call a good game. But when he hit for that cycle, hey, all the more power to him. I mean, he's a short, compact player, but boy, oh boy, he's a great ball player. And I did not know this. Out of all the hitters that are active right now, only Miguelcabrera is ahead of him in the all-time hit department. Jose's got over 2,000. So, once Miguel retires after this season, then Altuve is going to be the top, in active players. In other words, in Major League Baseball hits. And he's a great player. I'm happy for him. I think it's always cool when somebody hits for the cycle. I love it.
All right, what do you think, Jordan?
It's not every day you see a player hit for the cycle. I didn't realize that Jose Altuve had never done it, just because, like George mentioned, he's number 2 all time in terms of, active players and hits. I thought he would have one, a couple of years ago, but that's not the case. And as Scott mentioned, the Astros haven't had a cycle since 2013, which is still impressive. But as for Jose Altuve, I'm happy for him. They really have to, he has to keep playing at a high level because they're still in the thick of the American League West Division. They're 1 game behind the Seattle Mariners, and also the Rangers are also in the mix. So they got to keep playing, and it's up to him to keep putting up those numbers, especially the power numbers, to keep them in it. And it is pretty exciting that he capped it off with a two-run homer. You don't see that very often. A lot of times they're a triple away. You don't see it as a home run away.
Well, it's funny. You talk about the Houston Astros and all the, the cheating scandal and all that business. But you know what? Despite that, they've still been a heck of a ball club, and they managed to win a championship clean, if you want to say that. So, you know what? This guy's been there for both of them, and more power to him. I don't get into Hall of Fame discussion. I think it's premature, but at the rate he's going, he could be in the discussion at some point down the road for sure. And I like what we're seeing out of him. I love the job Dusty Baker continues to do with this team. Justin Verlander's back for another round with them. So this is a tough team here to bet against in the American League. All right, you know what? This is part of what we have to do. What could have been would have been Washington Nationals all-star pitcher Stephenstrasburg retires due to injuries. 13th season, 113 up, 62 down. Definitely not going to get in the Hall of Fame with those numbers. 3.24 ERA, 17.22 Ks, a World Series title. What can you say about Steven Strasburg, George?
Well, I'll tell you what, Strasburg's been the face of that franchise for so many years. Such a great pitcher, so much talent that unfortunately has been hampered by injuries and by some ineffective let we just say teammates. They won the one title, which is great, but I'm telling you, Strasburg could have done a lot more. But some of it is just unfortunate, and it comes down to what injuries you sustain, and so many guys have had Tommy John injuries, and it's Tommy John surgery, excuse me. And in Strasburg again, he had a lot of potential, a lot of great potential, I always felt, but unfortunately it's the end, and that's sad. I'm not happy about it. I mean, I think he's a good guy, he's a good ball player, good teammate, but the Nationals, they've just not done anything recently as far as the standings go, and it's a shame, but you can't blame it all on him either. I mean, it's a full roster that has to compete. He's done as best as he could. Unfortunately, some of those years were troubling with injuries, and his stuff wasn't as good as it probably should have been in a lot of those games. But I always admired him. He's a good pitcher, but he'll go down as one of the best in the Nationals, but obviously never make the Hall of Fame, like you said, Scott.
All right. Well, Candy, from the South Florida Tribune, love hitting for the cycle. Cool accomplishment. Oh, yeah, especially when it didn't get done a lot. Go ahead, Jordan, on Strasburg.
When he was drafted to the Nationals, I thought, this is a guy that's going to be, I'm going to compare him to Randy Johnson. That's who I thought it was going to be, a guy that throws fastballs to strike guys out. But like George said, he was never healthy. I mean, he had one good season, and that was 2019, where he was 18-6, which is still pretty good. But the thing is it is what if. I look at it, and I'm going to compare him to a pitcher from the Cubs, Mark Pryor, who always seemed like a good pitcher, but could never stay healthy. It's the same case with Stephen Strasburg. It's really sad that he has to end on a note of being injured and not being able to pitch. And it's definitely a what-if story. And he has good numbers, but yeah, they're definitely not enough to get into the Hall of Fame. At least he has the one World Series ring, which a lot of players don't have.
No, he'll be in the Nationals Wall of Fame, Hall of Fame. And, for whatever it's worth, okay, he will have started his career in one place and finished it. You don't see a lot of that anymore either. But Stephen Strasburg, to me, has had a fine career based on all the adversity that he's had. He was committed to one organization. More power to him. And by the way, the Nationals, I think, are on the hook for all that money because they did not have an insurance policy either. So I wouldn't feel like he can't feed his family because the Nationals are going to be paying every dime of it. So it doesn't matter. But you know what? You drafted a guy, and if you can draft a guy and ultimately leads to a World Series championship, it was a pretty good investment, and it worked out all the way around. All right, my final topic, and then you guys are getting parting shots. How does that sound? And by the way, folks, we're really on a great flow tonight. I'm trying this 3-man experiment here because sometimes, depending on availability, if I see different things out there I like, I'm going to incorporate them. So if by chance you don't see a 45-minute show, it's okay. We don't mind the shorter ones either because in quantity, it'll be quality. And this show tonight is definitely going to give us a bit of that element. So Shoheiohtani has torn UCLA, will not pitch again this season. Looks like he's only going to be a hitter, George.
It's one of those things where I kind of said, I told you so. All I said that earlier on 108 Stitches was because when you lose him, I thought for sure you were going to lose both aspects of him, the pitching and the hitting. But obviously he's proven me wrong. I don't know how long he can continue on with the hitting, obviously, all I'm saying is that this did not come at a good time. Obviously, as we know, he's going after big, big money. Probably the greatest contract you and I have ever seen in the offseason. So for this to happen was very unfortunate timing. And if he does have to go into Tommy John surgery or something similar to that, that will put him out for a little bit. But boy, oh boy, I mean, to me, I would have never thought that a pitcher hurt could still bat and still bat effectively like he's shown the last week or two.
It's called modern medicine, George.
Yeah.
So if I look at it, I mean, yes, we know how great Shoheiohtani is at pitching, but like George said, it's amazing that with modern medicine, he's able to hit because you would think that his type of injury in the arm wouldn't allow him to hit, but he's still doing it at a high level. The thing I look at it is he's going into free agency, he's looking for the big bucks, but how many franchises are going to shy away from just his pitching and say, you know what, we're going to have you as a designated hitter? Because they don't want him to get hurt again. That's my big question. But for Shohei, I'm glad he's still able to put on a show at least at the plate. It's unfortunate that he can't pitch anymore. So maybe whoever picks him up, even if he stays with the Angels next year, although I think he's most certainly going to move on because he's going to get a bigger contract. Maybe they'll say, you know what, we're going to keep you as a designated hitter. We're done with seeing you pitch because of these injuries.
Well, as I understand, I think the Angels released a handful of players today too, didn't they? They went on waivers, so they'll have a chance to land hopefully with contending teams. You said that about staying with the Angels because of this injury. I wouldn't be surprised if he were to take a 1-year deal to stay with the Angels, and maybe this was a blessing in disguise for the Angels. I've seen crazier things happen in this game, but it definitely provides a little bit of intrigue, or a lot of bit of intrigue in the offseason for sure. All right, well, guess what, George? Parting shots.
Well, I wrote about it in the Motor City Tribune under the South Florida Tribune banner, but boy, the magic returned to Comerica last Friday night. The Tigers were playing the Houston Astros, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, and it was a no-hitter through 7 innings, and then 2 strikeouts to begin the 9th, and then here comes Cabrera. And I'll tell you what, Miguel saved their butt. He got a single, got things going, and before you knew it, a kid named Parker Meadows, the younger brother of, the other Meadows that's out sick, came to the plate and hit a moonshot, and obviously the Tigers won 4-1. So it was an exciting day, exciting game. Tigers got their clocks clean the next 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, by Houston. And obviously, the real Tigers showed up, I guess, those 2 days. And now New York has handled them the last 2 days. So some of that enthusiasm for last Friday's win kind of wore off real quick. But I do give the Tigers credit. They finally brought up Parker Meadows. He's been doing really, really well down in the minors, both at Erie AA and Toledo AAA. And so Scott Harris, the president of baseball ops, and AJ Hinch wanted him up here. And so did the fans. So they're getting their way. He got 3 hits tonight against the Yankees. So Parker Meadows hopefully will fit right in with guys like Riley Green and Carpenter and Torkelson.
Off to you, Jordan.
So the track and field world championships were held in Budapest, Hungary, just ended this past weekend. American sprinter Noah Lyles, who won the 100 and 200 meters, had some strong words about U.S. sports. He basically said, I have to watch the NBA Finals and they have world champions on their head. World champions of what? The United States? Don't get me wrong. I love the U.S. at times, but it ain't the world. We are the world. We have almost every country out here fighting and thriving, putting on a flag to show they are represented. There ain't no flags in the NBA. I understand he was talking to the NBA, but I took it as he doesn't believe that world championship should be in any North American sports. The thing that I think that he's dead wrong is, especially when it comes to baseball, is there are plenty of foreign-born players. We saw it in the World Baseball Classic. But in Major League Baseball, when opening day rosters came out, there were 269 foreign players on rosters, and 104 of them coming from the Dominican Republic. Of course, we know that it's a global game. Baseball, as in some other countries represented in Major League Baseball, are Venezuela, Mexico, Japan, and South Korea, just to name a few. Of course, the championship series is the World Series, as we all know. So, yes, it is the world. Now, Noah Lyles should have done research before he made those comments, because really, baseball is a global game, even in North America.
Well, Jordan, I'll ensure I'm not having a parting shot because I can't top that one. I'm not going to do it. So what I am going to do is say it one more time before we call it a night. Just so you know, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk being broadcast around the world. The audio version of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participating in chat rooms, one way to do it. Or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. I don't know. I'm like what Travis Holmes says. as much as I want to say X, I'm sticking by Twitter. You can reach us there at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. All right, Jordan, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
So you can follow me on Twitter at SportsScoop1. I also have a blog that I write Mondays through Fridays at sports-scoop.com. I also have a YouTube show that I also post on Facebook as well as Twitter, and it's called Under Review, which basically is my take on Colorado sports with some national stories as well. And that will be, this week will be on Wednesday, which is tomorrow at about 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time.
Very good. Now, you're obviously residing now on the East Coast, if I remember correctly, right?
I will be next week, yes.
Okay, no problem. Just want to make sure. All right, George, you know the drill.
Yeah, I know the drill. And the Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air is my book. And Scott's in the book. And so is the likes of Ernie Harwell and Ray Lane and George Kell and all these great Tiger announcers that we've had over the years. Dan Dickerson's doing a fine job right now. Matt Shepard's doing a good job on television. There's a link to purchase the book at the end of my column. You can read me at the Motor City Tribune, which is under the South Florida Tribune banner. And you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com and also on X, formerly Twitter, at SandGSports99. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn. And Scott and I have talked about this a lot. If you're not active on LinkedIn, you should be. It's a great tool to meet people, professionals in the business, and others that obviously you can network with. So I'm a big advocate, like I know you are, Scott, and Jordan, you too, probably. But LinkedIn is a great tool, and I love it. And also, don't forget that there's a local paper in town. I write for the Detroit Monitor, getting ready to cover the Detroit Lions again this season. Looking forward to that. And great to be on this show, as well as Inside the Pigskin, the Sports Exchange, and other shows that Scott has me on.
Oh, great. Well, you know, George, you and I have been inseparable for over 43 years. So what's it going to be? And now Jordan's one of the best additions I've made on this network. And I'm glad that
He sure is. Yeah.
I'm glad he's a part of what we do here. So, well, that does it, folks. Guess what? 6 topics, 2 parting shots. We got you covered. Till next week. So, meanwhile, on behalf of George Hightorn and Jordan Long, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and we will catch you next week after 9 o'clock. Good night, everybody.